Okay, let's do this. For the first time ever, allow me the absolute honor of welcoming you to the Beyond the Birth Story podcast. If this is your first time joining me here today, I'm your host, Alexa C. Girl mom, angel mama to one of the sweetest boys in heaven, birth trauma and uterine rupture survivor, and former NICU mama. I am fully aware that we are almost 2 weeks into January. However, this has been my first opportunity to wish you a happy new year. 2025, you guys, I can hardly believe it. I hope you had a very gentle holiday season, as I know firsthand how difficult they can be. As we welcome in a new year, some of us may be leaving behind the year that took our loved one from us, and others may find yourself in a position where you thought and you believed you would have a baby by this time. If you are still longing for that with empty arms, please know I am right there with you, wishing that this is your year. Now, before we get started on today's very first episode, and it's going to kind of be a quick one today, but I am 30 today. That is so wild to say. It feels like it came so fast, you guys. And I could not think of a better way than launching our first episode today. It's a little awkward to spend every week with someone and not get to know them, so I just want to tell you a little bit about the last decade of my life. My 20s brought a lot of heartache and pain. However, they did bring a lot of happiness and healing as well. In 2019, we welcomed our firstborn daughter, Jayla, into the world after I battled hyperemesis for my entire pregnancy. I graduated nursing school with a newborn. I can leave that one there because if you've been through nursing school, well, you know that nursing school alone is enough, let alone with a newborn, but we did the damn thing. In 2022, I said a impossibly painful goodbye to my firstborn son, Cade, after a uterine rupture before I ever got the chance to say hello to him. In 2023, I married my husband, and most recently, we welcomed our second-born son, Case, into the world prematurely in June of 2024. So for today, I want to circle back and really focus on bringing in that new year. Again, I know we're a couple weeks in, but this really can stay with you for so long. And I will speak from my own experience today because I still very much carry it with me. And it is a very isolating and heavy thing. I remember New Year's of 2022, and everybody around me seemed so excited and happy for 2023. I sat there completely numb. I cannot even tell you 100% what I was doing that New Year's. And trauma has a very funny way of blocking out things that maybe necessarily don't serve us to remember anymore. It was very, very isolating and nobody was talking about it. And quite honestly, neither was I. I was almost ashamed that I was so feeling negative about entering this new year. And I now know that that is nothing to be ashamed of. Everywhere I turned in real life, and especially on socials, people were talking about how 2022 is the best freaking year of their life. All of these things that they got to do, or all the babies that were born in the world and got to stay. And I was obviously very happy for these people, but I will get into it later on. And there's a lot of heaviness and sadness and grief and honestly a little bit of jealousy that comes with that too. I felt so selfish and it felt so wrong to be leaving behind the only year I had the pleasure of having Cade alive in my life behind me. Even though his soul had already been called back up to heaven, I was able to love on him physically, even if that time was cut incredibly short. I still feel like I'm counting the years that go by in terms of how long it's been since I've been able to kiss him, tell him I love him, touch his body, and snuggle him. It wasn't until this year that I found more people were talking about this in terms of the grief and the heaviness that comes with turning over a new calendar without these people with us, and talking about what our life should look like, how old they should be, what should we be doing right now. And that I'm pretty sure stays forever. Obviously, I'm not forever into it yet, but that has not necessarily gotten easier for me. And especially around the holidays, it is amplified beyond. So there's a few reasons that I could be seeing people talking about this more. And one is that people are simply just talking about it. And two, I have spent so much time creating and becoming a part of a community of lost moms that are not afraid to talk about the hard things. This absolutely falls into that category. I remember being so upset that I was seeing all of these positive things and sitting there being like, are we really not going to talk about the fact that that year basically took what felt like every living piece of me? Because I left a very large part of myself in that year. And I will never get her back. I came across a specific quote in the last couple days from an Instagram profile I've been following for quite a while. And if you're into quotes, One Night Closer on Instagram, I highly recommend this. I do want to take just a quick moment and read this one today, as it has resonated with me so much. So it says, there was a moment where life as I knew it ended, a moment where living turned into surviving, existing. In a world I no longer recognize, time permanently divided into a before and an after, the unbridgeable gap between what was and what is. Grief is the space in between where memories and missing you collide. Time permanently divided into a before and an after. I still am describing things as before he passed, after he passed, since that day where everything changed. I could literally speak on the grief being the space in between where everything meet forever, which I guess is kind of why we find ourselves here today. I have been sitting in silence, metaphorically and quite literally, for so long, as I was showing up on a platform where I was just typing out what I felt in that moment, or typing about different pieces of our journey and healing journey, and not using the most powerful tool I have, which is my voice. And so I just want you to know what an honor it is to be in charge of this space. And not only for myself, but to give those in the professional workforce a voice, to bring awareness and give that knowledge to people, lived experience from other moms, and my own testimony and my own story. These are so powerful, and I have the most strong lineup of women ready to share. And it's been one of the coolest experiences. And this will come up a lot for me. And it's something I learned in therapy, which I swear by, you guys. Therapy has become like my best friend. But I almost shamed myself for a long time for sitting here, and the only thing I could talk about was my birth story, losing him, how my life has changed after. And my therapist very quickly taught me and reminds me quite often that that is also a trauma response. You continually talk about the story because you're trying to change the outcome. And I want to be that person for people that use me as a sounding board as many times as you want. And something that has come up so much since I've launched the Beyond the Birth story is moms wanting to share their story, specifically to be there for other moms who need that support and need a space to turn to, because that is so badly what they wish they could have had when going through. I've talked to moms about, through their IVF journey or through stillbirth and loss, through NICU stays. Like, nobody ever will understand you. And I say understand very lightly, because I truly will never sit here and be like, I totally get it and I totally understand what you're saying, because I don't. We might have similar experiences, but I don't know exactly your experience or how your body responded and your heart. And so, believe me, I use understand very lightly. However, nobody will understand or be able to relate more than a mom who has gone through something similar. And the number one word I hear is isolating. And maybe shame is thrown around quite a bit. Shame that, we've been through this, or our bodies did a certain thing that maybe resulted in this end result. And the only way to, I feel like, lift that shame a little bit is to normalize. And not only what kind of comes up for you after you're in the grieving process and everything like that, but just, you know, give a voice. That's basically what it comes down to. And I am an oversharer chronically. I have no filter. And so you're probably going to learn that very quickly. And I do find healing in sharing, and I know not everybody's like that, but if we can just help even one mom here, I feel like I have checked off all of the goals that I have for this space. So, with all that being said, buckle up for a crazy ride. I am so excited, and I hope that you enjoy this as much as I do. And I'm so excited to have you along for the ride. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Please take a moment and on whatever app you're listening to us on, press that follow button to stay up to date with all future episodes. If you or someone you know are interested in being a guest on the Beyond the Birth Story podcast or a sponsor, please visit our Instagram or Facebook at Beyond the Birth Story podcast and send a message or fill out that contact form. I would love to connect with you. As always, remember to be gentle, kind, and hold space for yourself when you need it.